If you're into UFC, then you already know what brutal knockouts are all about. It's basically the bread and butter of the sport. Sure, boxing and wrestling have their moments, but let's be honest, nothing hits quite like the savagery you see inside the octagon. And today we're talking about the most brutal knockout ever. We're talking blink and you miss it speed. Like this thing happened in 5 seconds. I mean, some fighters take longer to fix their gloves. And in case you haven't guessed, this masterpiece of destruction involved none other than Jorge Masvidal and Ben Askren. But who walked away victorious, and how did it go down? Well, you're going to have to stick around to find out. Trust me, this one's worth it. Jorge Masvidal wasn't just walking into the octagon at UFC 239 like it was a casual Saturday. Nah, this guy had 16 years of battle scars, bruises, and knockouts behind him. The man was practically a human highlight reel before highlight reels were even a thing. And the crazy part, he started in the grimy streets, brawling like every fight was for survival. Masvidal wasn't just unpredictable. He thrived in chaos. You throw him into the octagon, and he's not just going to fight, he's going to thrive off that energy, off the fact that every second is a question mark. He's been through the wars in other organizations, picked up his battle-tested stripes, and honed his skills into something lethal. Masvidal isn't just a striker, he's a full-on mind game artist. He doesn't just aim to land punches, he's there to dismantle your entire game plan before you've even touched gloves. And heading into this fight with Ben Askren, he was ready to do more than just win. Masvidal was out to break records and, quite frankly, break Askren in the process. See, Masvidal's no fool. He's a chess player in a world of checkers. He knew Askren loved to shoot for takedowns like it was the last dance at prom, going all in, head first, no hesitation. And Jorge, oh, he was ready for it. The plan was simple. Wait for that over-eager shoot and end Askren's undefeated streak in the most brutal way possible. This wasn't about squeaking by with a decision. Masvidal wanted to plant Askren in the ground and watch as the doubters ate their words for breakfast. Askren came in hyped, undefeated, the grappling god, who had already strangled the life out of top UFC talent. But Masvidal didn't care about that narrative. He was about to flip it on its head in a way no one saw coming. Then there's Ben Askren, the wrestling machine. Dude came into the UFC with so much hype you'd think they rolled out the red carpet for him. Undefeated, Bellator champ, one championship legend. Askren had accolades stacked up higher than a Vegas buffet, and he wasn't shy about it. His game was wrestling, pure, unrelenting. I'm going to drag you to the floor and smother you until you tap out or pass out. Wrestling. Fighters who loved to throw hands like Masvidal usually ended up flailing under the weight of Askren's Olympic-level pressure. But here's the kicker. Askren was confident. Too confident. He thought he had the blueprint for every striker in the book, and he believed Masvidal wasn't going to be any different. The guy was walking into the octagon like his record couldn't be touched, like defeat was some mythical creature he'd never meet. And, oh boy, was that the biggest mistake he ever made. Because in the blink of an eye, Masvidal turned that undefeated record into a footnote, and the hype around Askren? Well, let's just say it evaporated faster than you can say, flying knee. The build-up to UFC 239 wasn't just intense. It was like watching a pot of water about to boil over, with Jorge Masvidal and Ben Askren playing chef and turning up the heat. The drama started long before they stepped foot into that octagon. Askren was riding high on his undefeated record and didn't miss a chance to throw shade at Masvidal. And when I say throw shade, I mean the guy was relentless. Askren basically acted like Masvidal's losses were written in crayon and hung up on his fridge. He went after Masvidal's pride, career, everything, calling him a journeyman. like Masvidal had been hopping from fight to fight without a clue. For a guy who's been in the game for 16 years, that wasn't just trash talk. That was like slapping him in the face with a fish and daring him to do something about it. Masvidal, of course, took it personally, like anyone would after hearing that much noise from someone who hadn't even been in the UFC for that long. By the time the fight was near, it was clear these two didn't just want to win. They wanted to humiliate each other. The stakes were sky high. If Masvidal won, he was on the fast track to the welterweight title. If Askren won, it was another told-you-so moment, proving that his dominance from other organizations like Bellator and One Championship wasn't just hype, it was real. Fans were losing their minds trying to figure out who had the edge. Some were convinced Askren's wrestling was untouchable and that once he got his mitts on Masvidal, it would be game over. Askren had already taken down the likes of Robbie Lawler, so it was hard to argue against his ability to grapple his way to victory. But on the flip side, Masvidal's fans knew better. They knew this guy wasn't just going to stand there and get hugged to the ground. Masvidal's striking? Pure. Precision. Not to mention, he had knockout power that could put anyone to sleep. It all came down to one question. Could Askren turn this into a wrestling match before Masvidal landed something nasty? And then came the moment, the kind of moment where you blink and you miss it. The fight started, and Masvidal, he wasn't wasting any time. The bell rings, and this dude sprints across the octagon like he's late for a bus. It's not even 2 seconds into the fight, and Masvidal is already airborne, flying at Askren like a human missile. Askren, thinking this is just another routine takedown, ducks down right into Masvidal's knee. Boom. That's it. Game over. Askren's out cold before he even knows what hit him. He collapses like a bag of bricks, and the whole arena just stops. Silence. Shock. The entire thing lasted a whole 5 seconds, the fastest knockout in UFC history. 5 seconds. It was so fast, you almost didn't have time to process what just happened. But oh, Masvidal wasn't done yet. While Askren was lying there, knocked out on the mat, Masvidal casually strolled over and tapped the ground next to him, almost as if to say, "You still there, bud?" It was the ultimate troll move, just adding salt to the wound. Masvidal didn't just win, he humiliated Askren, and he did it with style. This wasn't just another fight for the history books. This was a statement, a warning, and one of the most brutal, unforgettable knockouts the UFC had ever seen. Now let's compare this KO to some of the other crazy moments in UFC history. You've got Conor McGregor's 13-second knockout of Jose Aldo, which was wild in its own right. But that was more like Aldo walking straight into a counterpunch, a classic oops, gotcha moment. Masvidal's knee, though, that thing was calculated, it was vicious, and it didn't need any follow-up. Askren was done the moment that knee connected, and that's what makes it stand out. Or take Dan Henderson's famous knockout of Michael Bisping at UFC 100. Hendo threw that overhand right like he was swinging for the fences, and Bisping was out before he hit the ground too. But then Henderson adds that final unnecessary punch to the downed Bisping just for kicks. Brutal, absolutely. But Masvidal didn't need any of that extra drama. One flying knee, and the fight was over. Boom. Done. And poor Askren, man. Before that fateful night at UFC 239, the guy had never even tasted defeat. He was a 2-time NCAA wrestling champ, an Olympian, undefeated in Bellator and One Championship. He was riding high. Even when he beat Robbie Lawler in his UFC debut, it came with a bit of controversy. But hey, he still got the W. But when Masvidal's knee met Askren's skull, it was over. That was it. Undefeated streak, gone. Career, changed forever. Askren never truly bounced back from that. In less than a year, he called it quits, retiring from MMA in November 2020, his once perfect record forever marred by that one brutal knee. That knockout didn't just end Askren's night. It launched Masvidal's career into the stratosphere. Before that, he was a solid fighter, sure, but he wasn't quite the superstar he became afterward. Overnight, he was the guy, the one who knocked out Ben Askren faster than most people can microwave popcorn. And that fame led to huge opportunities. He went on to fight Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title at UFC 251. He didn't win, but his stock didn't drop either. Then there was that whole BMF thing. Yep, the baddest motherfasher title fight against Nate Diaz at UFC 244. Masvidal won that too, and just cemented his status as one of the most dangerous, exciting fighters in the UFC. The legacy of that night? Unforgettable. Masvidal became a living legend, while Askren's star faded. But no matter what, UFC 239 will always be remembered for those 5 explosive seconds, seconds that changed everything for both men. Masvidal made history, Askren met the canvas, and the rest, well, the rest is UFC folklore.